Hey everyone, this is Pete. I just wanted to do a bit of an update video to talk about a few things. Give you a bit of a life and career update and talk a bit about what that means for other stuff going forward. And I thought we'd play some Screamer. Just so you got something to watch while I'm talking. Just close the curtains there. Yeah, so I've had a fair amount going on recently. In the last week, my position at work has changed a little bit. For the better, I hasten to add, before you get worried. What has happened is, up until now, I've been working in a sort of semi-unofficial capacity with the folks at Evercade to help them prepare their manuals and the digital content and online website content and that sort of thing for various games. And from this week, I am part of the Blaze team in a more official capacity. I'm officially part of the Evercade team from now. Now, I'm still doing stuff on Rice Digital. You know what, I'm going to take these headphones off because the sound is quite distracting. You know what, let's restart. Yeah, so I'm now officially part of the Evercade team at Blaze. And that means I'm spending sort of a larger proportion of my time on a daily basis working on Evercade stuff. So I'm writing manuals and I'm preparing digital content. Excuse the hammering upstairs, my wife is fixing our toilet door. Yeah, so I'm doing more of that on a daily basis. I'm still working on Rice, so don't worry about that for those of you who follow me for my writing and other bits and pieces about Japanese games and such like. So I'm still doing that, but it's a slightly lesser proportion of my day at this point. For now, the priority is on Evercade stuff, because there's some really exciting stuff coming up in the next year that I can't talk about just yet. But suffice to say, if you follow the platform, there's a lot to look forward to in the coming year. What that means is that I've now got sort of more responsibilities, and it takes a lot more of my time and attention and energy on a daily basis. And so I'm having to think quite seriously about the other stuff that I'm doing and whether it's practical to continue doing that. And after some reflection, I have to think that I can't really keep going on in my current form for various reasons. It's not sort of the pressure of the job as the main thing, but the one thing with taking on these additional responsibilities and being able to step back a bit from kind of being on the front lines of the internet, I guess you'd call it, has let me sort of reflect on a few things. And I'm driving terribly, I must apologise, but I don't really care. I'm here to talk, not to wow you with my amazing rallying skills. Yeah, so sort of being able to step back a little bit from the front line of the internet into doing something that has a little bit more permanence, I guess you could say, by working on sort of physical products rather than digital content. And I'll talk a little bit about my distaste for that word in a moment. Yeah, it's just made me sort of think about my free time and how I want to spend it, really. And I'm starting to come to the point where I feel like I want a bit of my free time back. And I feel a bit guilty saying that for reasons that I'll outline now. Now, those of you who have spoken to me about this sort of thing before will know that I have a great distaste for the word content and describing people as content creators. I absolutely despise that. And the reason for that is that the word content carries with it certain baggage that I don't think is helpful or healthy. When someone is creating content, it is implied that they are continually churning out stuff for people to consume. People consume content. And they do so fairly mindlessly. It doesn't matter what the content is, as long as the content is there, people will consume the content. And I see people all around me doing that. I see people watching mindless YouTube videos about boring white women shopping at thrift stores and making recipes that they saw on TikTok and other bullshit like that. And I look at the viewing figures that sort of nonsense gets, and it's hard not to feel a bit demoralized, to be perfectly honest, because I'm not baiting the algorithm or feeding the algorithm or whatever you want to call it with what I do. I'm just doing something that I wanted to do, and I thought might be interesting, and I thought might be valuable to some people. That was a terrible race, wasn't it? Because I'm not sort of making a particular effort to bait the algorithm. I sort of rarely get above sort of 50 to 100 views on a video, and for me it's never been about the views, but you know, when you look at the mindless garbage that's pumped out on a daily basis, it's hard not to find yourself thinking, well, is it worth bothering? Because I like what I do, I'm proud of what I've done, I've got a huge body of work now that I'm glad that I've produced and that I'm proud of having produced, and that I know has a certain sort of evergreen quality to it, to use an obnoxious SEO phrase. The stuff I've made is stuff that remains relevant, and I've seen that by the fact that people have commented on the stuff that I've done years after the fact in some cases. And that's great. That's always exactly what I wanted to do with my videos and my writing. I wanted stuff that kind of left a mark, as it were. But when you're making stuff for a platform like YouTube, it's hard not to fall into the content trap. It's hard not to find yourself thinking, well, I should stick to a schedule because people are expecting that of me. I should stick to a schedule because if I don't do that, then I won't become relevant anymore. And like I say, sort of being relevant has never been a primary concern of mine or anything like that, but just a few things just recently have really brought that into sharp focus for me of how unhealthy an attitude that is. There's a guy I follow on Twitter. I won't say who it is for the sake of their privacy, but there's someone I follow on Twitter, and a little while back a family member of theirs died, a very close family member, and it was an unexpected death in their family. And quite understandably, they decided to take a step back from the internet when that happened and allow themselves some proper time to mourn and to grieve, which is fine. That's exactly what you should do in that situation. But when they came back, one of the first things they said was that they were worried that their content wouldn't be relevant anymore. And the content they were talking about was the things they post on Twitter. So like it wasn't videos, it wasn't articles, it was literally just tweets. And they were worried that their content wasn't going to be relevant anymore because they stepped away for a couple of weeks to mourn the passing of a family member. And I saw that and I thought, God, is that really the world we live in right now? Is that really how people think? And the only thing I could think of was, yes, that is the way we think, because I felt myself thinking that way before. Thankfully, I've never had to deal with something as horrendous as losing a family member. But at times when I've had to take a week off to sort of gather myself or do something that I had a prior commitment for, I felt intense guilt. I felt intense guilt about having to step away and about not fulfilling my commitments and whatever and that sort of thing. And they're self-imposed commitments. There's no one hassling me to do this. But still, the culture of content that we have online right now has led me to just feel that way. That's the way the internet works. That if you're not constantly churning out this content, if you're not constantly producing this sort of thing, then, well, why should you bother doing that? And that's not healthy, and I don't like that. And you can probably tell this. It's sort of difficult for me to talk about this because I've spent so long kind of making stuff now that I'm proud of, that the prospect of sort of stepping away from it, even temporarily or even to a certain degree, is sort of giving me great pause. But I feel like I've got to do something. I've got to do something because the way I'm feeling right now is not great. For various reasons, I'm not in the best of physical and mental health right now. I hate to admit, it's nothing to do with my job. I'm having a great time at my job. I'm really happy with this new promotion that I've talked about. I guess it's a promotion. It's a step sideways rather than a promotion, but it feels like a step up, as it were. So I'm really happy with that. But for various other reasons unrelated to that, I'm not feeling great physically and mentally. And when I'm feeling like that, it feels like I probably shouldn't push myself too hard, if you see what I mean. Because that's falling into the trap of doing stuff for the sake of it. That's falling into the trap of creating content, because creating content is what you're supposed to do. And like I say, the trouble with falling into the content trap is that it's very difficult to get yourself out of that. It's very difficult to get yourself out of that sense of obligation that you should be doing something. That you should be doing something specific. That you should be creating something at all times. And I've felt that a few times. I've felt that to a certain degree with Moe Gamer, and I felt that with my video stuff. Like I say, in both of those cases, I'm very, very proud of what I've created. I'm happy with what I've created. And at no point have I sort of cynically made stuff just to churn the algorithm or whatever. But it still feels like I can't take a break. It feels like I can't stop even. It's like an addiction. And that doesn't feel healthy at all. That doesn't feel good at all. And so what I feel like I need to do is take a complete step back. I'm not necessarily saying I'm going to stop doing stuff completely, but I do need some time and some space, and I need the opportunity to just enjoy some stuff for myself. Because what I've been doing for a few years now is sort of picking up new games and choosing how I spend my free time on the grounds that other people might enjoy what I'm doing, or that it might make good content. And over the last few years, what it started to feel like is that it just takes forever to fully enjoy anything. Like if I start playing an RPG and I do it as a Let's Play series, it takes months and months and months to get through a game that I see people on Twitter getting through in a weekend in some cases. And I want to be able to enjoy more stuff. I want to be able to experience all of these wonderful games that I've added to my library, that I've got on my shelves, that is waiting for me to play. And I think focusing too much on how these games can make good content, or that they might be good videos, or they might be good fodder to write about, is not a good way of going about doing things. I need to sort of invert things. I need to enjoy things for myself, and if they particularly struck me, that's when I make a video about them. That's when I write something about them. And this is sort of really added to with the professional side of things, with the fact that I'm writing about stuff for Rice Digital as well. Honestly, with my commitments for Rice Digital, I sort of already have plenty that I can write about. And the stuff that I write about on Rice Digital really sort of covers the same ground that I did on Moe Gamer, which is why I'm not updating Moe Gamer anymore. But I think what I want to do from here on is that I want to try and keep my free time as free as possible for me. I want to enjoy games at my own pace in the way that I want to enjoy them. If I find something particularly striking after I'm done with that game, I'll write something about it or make a video about it. But I don't need this self-imposed pressure to create content and to be relevant and all that sort of thing. Outside of my professional life, I mean, obviously working on Rice Digital, I still need to keep sort of that stuff in mind. But that said, part of the thing that I've been doing on Rice Digital is keeping that evergreen idea in mind and writing things that remain relevant. Writing things about slightly older games, or which haven't had much attention paid to them. And that always feels rewarding, because you know that you've done something positive for other developers and publishers and localizers and that sort of thing then. So I think that's going to have to be the approach that I take going forward. And so what that means for videos is that I don't think I'm going to commit to a schedule anymore. So from here on, I'm not going to say, right, every Monday I'm going to do this, every Friday I'm going to do this, every Wednesday I'm going to do a stream. I'm going to ditch all that. I'm not going to have a schedule, because that's just adding pressure. It's adding pressure. It's making my free time feel like more of a chore, and it's leaving me in a situation where I feel like I don't have time to enjoy myself in a completely free-form way. That's not to say I don't enjoy making the videos or streaming or that sort of thing. I will reiterate that over and over and over again. I've absolutely loved doing what I do on all this, but I think at some point it's important to look at that whole content culture thing and say, okay, right, I need to stop. I need to stop. I need to chill out, take a step back, remember that this is just a hobby, it's not my job, and sort of rekindle that joy, I guess. And so from here on, like I say, I'm not gonna stop completely. I'm not going to stop completely, but I'm not going to do things every week. I'm not going to operate to a schedule. I'm not going to do scheduled streams on Wednesdays like I originally planned. I'm going to keep things breezy, do stuff when I feel like it, and that probably means there's going to be less stuff on my channel. But there's already a lot of stuff on my channel. There's over 1,000 videos on my channel now. Okay, I noticed that a little while back. Over 1,000 videos. That's an astonishing amount of stuff that I've created. Like that's more stuff. That's more stuff than people who do this for a living have created in some cases. And so I've got a huge body of work there that anyone new to my channel can look back over and enjoy. And I've specifically made a point of ensuring that all the stuff I've made for this channel is stuff that people can enjoy at any point, regardless of when they come to it. And so with that in mind, I feel a little bit less bad about saying that I'm going to take a step back. I need a break. I need to do stuff more on my terms rather than on the sort of self-inflicted obligations of content culture and the algorithm and all that sort of thing. So that's what's going to happen. It's Saturday as I record this. What I've been doing up until now is I've been spending my Sunday doing recordings for the coming week. I'm no longer going to do that. My weekend is mine. It's mine to enjoy. And I'm going to enjoy it how I see fit. Sometimes that will involve recording videos. Sometimes that will involve streaming. At other times, particularly when my physical and mental health isn't the best, as it isn't at the moment, it's going to involve sitting back, relaxing, doing something that I want to do without thinking about how can this benefit the channel, how can this benefit my social media, how can this benefit my online footprint, my brand, whatever you want to call it. So I'm sure this is disappointing to those of you who enjoy what I do and who can't win this race, can I? I'm sure this is disappointing to those of you who enjoy what I do and who want to sort of see more stuff from me on a regular basis, but honestly, I've got to put myself first. I've got to be selfish. And it sucks that I feel so hesitant about doing that. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not the fault of the audience. Like I say, at no point has an audience member put any pressure on me to perform, as it were. At no point have I felt any pressure from people who watch stuff on my channel to do stuff every week, every day, whatever. This is mostly self-inflicted. But it's also a consequence of broader internet culture. It's a consequence of how other people are doing things online. And I've just been feeling particularly conscious of it of late. Just sort of seeing the vapid bullshit that is elsewhere on the internet and how well that does. How much of a zombie that TikTok can make people into, and how there are successful YouTube channels that are people just talking about absolutely nothing. And like I say, it's demoralizing. It's demoralizing and it's frustrating. And I don't have to deal with that. I don't have to deal with that. So I'm not going to, basically. Anyway, that's the gist of what I wanted to talk about. As I say, I'm sorry to those of you that that's a disappointing thing to hear, but like I say, I reassure you that this doesn't mean it's the end for the channel by any means. I'm still going to do stuff as I feel like it. But I'm going to do it on my terms rather than on the schedule's terms. And so it might be a fair distance between new videos. There'll be some streams when I feel like it. There might be some more streams, in fact, because streams are very easy to set up and much more casual and don't require much in the way of kind of production and preparation. So there may well be more of that, and as they have been up until this point, they will be archived here on YouTube for you to enjoy if you're not able to catch them live, or not, or if you don't like Twitch, which I know a lot of people don't, with perfectly good reason. So that's the plan. That's the plan. And I hope the long-term consequences of that are going to be that I feel a bit better, a bit more positive, that I have a bit more time to enjoy myself, that I'm not placing undue pressure on myself, and that I can continue to take pride in the stuff that I do, both professionally and as my own personal project. Like I say, I'm really proud of what I've created as part of my own personal projects, and now as part of the Evercade team on an official basis, I'm super proud to be involved with that entire project. And I'm reaching a point where I think that something like that, something like the Evercade project, which has physical permanence to it. Like the things that I work on, they are physical items that exist, that create, that don't only exist at the whims of a web server or the continued existence of a hosting service. I'm sort of starting to reach a stage where I feel more proud of that than a bunch of writing and videos that I've made online. And so it feels like I should run with that. I should focus on that. I should make that my priority. And take it from there. So, let's have one more go at that race. Yeah, this has been a bit of a ramble, I'm aware. And I hope it's made sense. And I hope you understand my reasons for saying the things that I've said. Like I say, I want to reiterate very carefully that it's nothing to do with any of you in the audience. It's not a position that any of you have put me in. It's not any kind of pressure that you've put on me. It's a combination of my own mental state and of the way the internet in 2022 works. And it's just reached a point where it feels like a problem. And as they say, the first thing you should do in trying to sort out a problem is acknowledge that there's a problem. And so this is me acknowledging that there's a problem. And that I need and want to do something about it. And I feel like by putting myself in a position where I'm not worrying about this quite so much, which is ultimately quite unimportant in the grand scheme of things, I can probably then place some greater focus on the other problems in my life that I want to sort out. Because there are more important things in my life that I want to fix. But sort of hesitance over smaller things like this that are seemingly sort of easier to resolve, as it were, it sort of feels like it's holding me back from tackling those more important problems at times. And so what I hope the result of this will be is that I feel less kind of worry and anxiety over something that ultimately doesn't matter all that much. And I can place more emphasis on sorting out the things that do matter. Now, I won't get into what those things that do matter are. Nothing to particularly worry about, I hasten to add. Again, they're all sort of personal things. But they're probably more important over whether or not I have multiple videos hosted on my YouTube channel every week. So yeah, here's hoping that this is sort of the beginning of an upward trend, an improvement, a period of self-improvement, of self-reflection, and that sort of thing. And as I say all this, I would encourage any of you who are feeling a similar sort of sense of being burnt out or unsure how to cope with the way the internet sort of seemingly expects you to behave these days. If you need to take a moment, take a moment. Because the internet has encouraged us all to live in such a competitive world, to be at each other's throats. Not necessarily directly, but just sort of to be constantly comparing ourselves to one another. That it just can't be healthy. It can't be healthy to place such emphasis on numbers that don't really mean anything. And I feel like we were all a lot happier before we started placing such importance on those numbers. Oh, much closer. Still fourth place, but much closer. Anyway, I think we'll leave that there for today. Thank you for listening to all that. I know I've rambled on for half an hour there and played a bit of Screamer 2 in the process. But I hope you understand where I'm coming from. I hope it's not too much of a disappointment for those of you who have supported my work. And like I say, a massive, massive thank you to those who have supported my work up until this point, whether it's through sharing or comments or Patreon support while that was a thing. So yeah, I'm sorry if it's disappointing to those of you who have supported me for this long, but like I say, it's time to take a step back, chill out, relax, take some time for me, and yeah, thank you for understanding. So I'll just say for now, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll probably see you next time.